everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Blender tutorial series. In today's episode we're going to go over some simple materials, rendering images, and we will also do a basic floor and walls to our scene to make it more realistic. So to start off, we're going to open up the scene that we did last time with your 2 tables or 1 table. And first off, let's take a look at materials. So as I mentioned in the first episode, it's this one with the sphere and the texture symbol on it. And click new to add a new material. So for now we won't be using nodes, I will do them in a later episode. For now we're just going to be using this basic thing. So from here you can choose your base color of the material. Actually, to make things easier, we're going to go to rendered view, so that way we can see the changes. So you can also hit Z and choose rendered. Clicking on here, you move the color wheel around and choose your color. You can adjust the brightness, or you can type in RGB numbers, HSV, or this. So for today, I'm going to turn the brightness down a bit and go with a sort of brown like that. So we're also able to turn up subsurface stuff. We can do the color of it, but let's not worry about that. Here you can turn up how metallic it is, so that'll give it like nice bronze look to it at the moment. So you could do it like more silvery look. You can do lots of cool things. But yeah, I'll just keep it with no metallic. And turning up the specular will just make it so it shines a bit more, looks a bit more polished. If you have no specular, that light won't really affect it other than with shadows. So you want specular, yeah, at around 0.5 or at 0.1 if you want it really like that. You can turn up the roughness, which will also affect, if you have it all the way up, it'll do the same thing as turning specular all the way down. And roughness all the way down will make that super reflective to the point where you can see the light and it's not even spreading out. So we want the roughness. So yeah, that's a good demonstration of how the roughness will affect. So we could put it around there, and that will look good. Anisotropic. Yeah, not sure. A lot of these I won't be sure about, but there's things like clear coats, and you could change the color of them. Emission's always fun. If you set it to emitting something like that, you put it in a dark room and turn on bloom, it will actually, I'll demonstrate that on a different thing. But yeah, you can change how opaque it is, and that's just this one setting. So you can do basic materials with this. If you go to click on the surface thing where it says principled shader, you can choose between any of this. I could make it glass, and I think at the moment it won't want to work because, well, we needed to do this anyway. We're going to add a plane and put it there, and now we can see our things like that. Yeah, it seems like the class doesn't want to cooperate today. But yeah, you could do like a velvety one. Could do glossy, and that'll be like very reflective. Let's see, as an example, yeah. So moving around like that. Then you could do any of these, just screwing around with them, doing whatever you want. But for now, we are just going to, I'm just gonna undo until I've got our principled shader back. and then I will chuck in that ground plane again, use S to scale it up, and then scale it along the y-axis to let it be spread out a bit more. So now we've got a big floor plane. I'm gonna grab our table and just move it down till the legs are in the floor. So now we've got our two tables. We can probably shrink this down. So if you're just in object mode, S, Z, then you can shrink it, G, Z, move it down, and just keep doing that until you have a height that you like. So I think I'm happy with that. That looks good with shadows. So now what we can do, so yeah, we've gone over the materials, basic materials. I'll give a few more examples of what you could do. You could do something like an emission shader. Turn it up a lot, and then if I delete that, then if I turn on bloom, you can see you can get some really cool effects with the lights. So this could be how you do like hazy fog lights and things. Like, yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff with bloom. You could also, with the emission, make it like a blue. That always looks kinda cool. It'll also be slightly affecting the stuff around it, or should be. But that's how you do emission at the moment. So because I don't feel like making this one again, I'll select this table. See how you can click on this and you can select on that one. You could make this one into the emission, but for the moment we're just gonna make it with these, and we can add in Shift A to add, go down to light, and add in a point light, and then G and Z. Maybe not, let's add in a sun. Yeah, it's a sunlight, just for reference. Then you can move this around to get the shadows how you want them looking. So I might put it over here, have them aimed about that way. You aim it by dragging this yellow thing. And now we've got a nice looking scene. So, let's talk about rendering, but because we're going to need to use a few keys, I've had some feedback from someone and I've worked out that with using the number pad, which we will need for going into camera view, we don't necessarily need it. You could do this, but if you're on a laptop which doesn't have a number pad, you can go into your preferences. Alright, so for some reason the recording just cut out for about 10 minutes, so sorry about that. I'll just explain what I was talking about before it cut out. So you wanna, if you want to fiddle around with it, if you're on a laptop, you won't have a number pad, which we will be using quite frequently. So you can go up to Edit, go into your preferences, and look for something for swapping over the number row to the number pads functionality. So you could either look for that or use this. So now the thing that I was going over before I realized it cut out was that we are going to now go over how to set up your rendering and explain what rendering is. So I'll do that explaining first. At the moment, we are rendering in real time. So that just means while we're moving around the lights, everything's updating at the same time, so we can get feedback. So it's good for making the things, but an actual render is what you're going to do at the end of building anything just to get that final good image or that final animation that looks all good and it has everything and all of the lighting looks nice. So at the moment, we are using the Eevee render engine. That is the thing that lets us do this real-time updating. For our rendering, we're going to go into cycles. So what that will end up doing is it'll be slower to render and it won't update in real time. But as you can see already, the shadows are much higher quality and everything just looks a bit crisper. So I'm going to swap back to Eevee. And now we can grab our camera, press the period key or the full stop key, wherever you're from, on the number pad to focus in on the camera. So if you want to go into the camera view, you're going to press 0 on the number pad. That will bring you to this view. Or we don't need to do that for the moment. So you want to move around your camera, just experiment until you get it to a certain place. Go into the view, see if you like it. You can rotate and grab from this view, so I'll rotate and Z here. But as you can see, if I do rotate and X, it does weird stuff with the alignment. You'll see a bit better from here. If I do R and X, it's a bit crooked. So, how we can fix that? If we press R, but instead of pressing X once, we press X twice, that will rotate it on its local axis. So what its local axis is when you're rotating something around, the local axes for it will move with it. So, and they won't be the same as just the normal ones. So this is the global ones, and then for each object, the local ones will be different depending on which way we've rotated them. So we're going to go into camera view, press R, and press X twice to go into the local axis thing. You can G, Shift Z to move around on not the Z axis. Move it over here or something. RZ, just do whatever angles you want. And just so you know, you can S and X and extend out this floor just to make it so that we can select our camera again. Didn't mean to do that. G, Shift Z, and move it back until everything's in the frame. So now that everything's in the frame, you've got your camera where you want, you're able to press F12 and that will bring up the render engine, the render window. So what that'll look like, it'll be just a blank screen with a texture thing on it. At the moment I'm not able to show you because my recording software doesn't like it when I click off the window, but you're able to do that. It'll be a blank textured screen and little orange things will go around the screen, rendering each little bit of the image until you've got a nice looking final render. But before you do that render, I would recommend you swap off Eevee and into cycles, and if you're on a like higher end computer, try doing the GPU. If you're not, just do CPU, because CPU will be rendering with your CPU, as you can guess. GPU is with the graphics card, so it can be better for higher quality renders. So you'll swap to cycles and then press F12, and then once it's done rendering, you can press Alt and S to save that render. I'll include an image of my final render of what we've got here in the final video. So, now that we've got rendering and stuff out of the way, swap back to Eevee, and let's add a bit more to this scene. So we can go into edit mode, but as you can see at the moment, it's not very good because we only have 4 vertices. So if we press A, that selects everything. We can do a tool called subdividing, which I'll talk about more in detail in the next episode. press subdivide. Well, you press W and then click on subdivide, but as you can see, every time you do that, it adds more vertices, which is good for editing. So now that we've done that, we can Alt and A to get rid of the selection, press B to box select, or press C and drag across everything. C is for circle select. Scrolling will increase or decrease the size of the circle, and then you can drag it around the edges to make or to select it. So now we have selected all around the edges. What we can do now, press E to extrude, Z, and bring it up to the height we want. So now, as you can see, we've got some nice shadows. So now there's no just grey background up there, and it looks nicer, so we could render again. So we could go to cycles, just leave it for a bit here, and as you can see, it's a nicer looking thing. So we could also take a look at giving, say, this floor a material. We could go do that one, but as you can see, it's not very nice because it sort of blends in with everything. So what we'll do, we will undo that, just Control and Z, and then you can press New to add a new one and you'll have a principled. But let's do something different, let's give it a glossy. So as you can see, there's the reflections of the table in there, which looks kind of cool. You could turn up the roughness, or if you turn it down, as you can see, you get some pretty cool renders. So this stuff is quite fun to mess around with. Looks like it doesn't. Alright, so I think you have to be in cycles for some of these materials to update. But you've got infinite stuff now. So you can just screw around with whatever you want in these. We could make it blue and glossy or red. Yeah, just do whatever you want. I don't think I'm gonna have it as a glossy. So I'll click on the surface again. Could do transparent, but as you can see, if I move it through, it has a sort of like, it's changing the colors of it slightly, but that would be a bit stupid. So we could do, like, there's translucent things, but I think for the moment, if you just want a normal floor, it would be best to go with a principled, which is what I'm going to do. Not principled volume, I just clicked on the wrong thing. You want principled BSDF, and then that'll be the normal thing, and you can choose the base color as we did with the other stuff. I might just go with a simple white. If we turn up the metallic, see, I like the look of this, just turning up the metallic levels. So I'll go into my camera, make sure it looks good, and then I can press render. So, that is all I'm going to do for today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed and learned something new about Blender. In the next episode, we're going to go over all of these. These are modifiers, and they can be really fun to just screw around with. But yeah, so we're going to want to save this. So Control S or File and Save. And you can save the renders, move the camera to where you want, and feel free to send me some of your renders. I'll put a way to contact me in the description so I can see your renders, give you feedback. Just feel free to build random things and send them to me, and I'll give you feedback on what you could change. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you in the next episode.